All right. May peace and power elevation be to all you beautiful people out there. This your girl Tiffany coming through live in effect, and I'm right here, on the stream yard. So if you can hear me, please let me know because I'm using the microphone. So this is my first time doing this on the mic. So hopefully you guys can be able to hear me out there. So tonight, I wanted to have a discussion with a brother about why do crime exist, especially within our community. So I want to talk about this because I feel like it's something very interesting that should be put out there on the forefront and should be discussed. So hopefully I can get the brother on here, um so we can go ahead and have this conversation. So until then, just give me one moment, please. All right, so just give me a second while I try to get him on. Hold on, give me a second. Okay. All right, so give me a second, see if I can get this brother on here. Trying to get him on. If I can get him on here. Okay. So, all right, until the brother get on here, I'm gonna read a post that he posted up, right? It was a very interesting post, and this is what prompted me to have this conversation. So I'm gonna go ahead and read the post to you. So the gentleman had put on the post, "Why does crime exist?" And he put uh, various explanation within criminology have proposed to explain racial disparities in crime rates, including conflict theory, strand theory, general strand theory, social disorganization theory, macro structural opportunity theory, and social control theory. And then he goes on to explain on his post. Conflict theory. Conflict theories are perspectives in sociology and social psychology that emphasizes a materialist interpretation of history, a dialectical method of analysis, a critical stance towards existing social arrangements, a political program of revolution or at least reform. Conflict theory draw attention to power, differential such as class conflict, and general contrast, historically dominant ideologies. It is therefore a micro level analysis of society. All right. Then he also put on this post, C. Wright Mills has been called the founder of modern conflict theory. In Mill's view, social structure are created through conflict between people with different interests and resources. Individuals and resources in turn are influenced by these structures and by unequal distribution of power and resources in the society. The power elite of American society, the military and industrial complex, had emerged from the fusion of the corporate elite, the Pentagon, and the executive branch of government. Mills argued that the interests of this elite were opposed to those of the people. He theorized that the policies of the power elite would result in increased escalation of conflict, production of weapons of mass destruction, and, possibly the annihilation of the human race. Now, that's very deep, especially about the annihilation of the human race, because you can hear Dr. Francis, uh, what's her name? Dr. Francis West Cresslin, right? She spoke on the annihilation. So basically, what we have to understand is people. Crimes has always existed, even the beginning of time. Crimes is not something new. Crimes always happening because, especially when it's dealing with social economics. And some people think, well, some people will say, hey, there's no reason to commit crime. And I agree to a certain extent that there's no reason to commit crimes. But we also have to look at it. Everybody's brain doesn't function the same way. And we could say that it's a European trait that was taught to us. But you know what? Even before the European, we always had crimes exist, especially amongst tribes. You had one tribe thinking they're greater than the other tribe. You had tribes thinking they're better. And it's always that one particular tribe that want to be in control of the community and control the community resources. So let me go ahead and continue read on with this post. Strain theory in sociology and criminology. Strain theory states that social structure within society may pressure citizens to commit crime. Strain theory is a sociology and criminology theory developed in 1938 by Robert K. Merton. The theory states that society puts pressure on individuals to achieve socially accepted goals, such as the American dream. Though they lack the means, this leads to strain, which may lead individuals to commit crimes, like selling drugs or becoming involved in prostitution as a means to gain financial security. This is very familiar, right? This mostly happened within the ghetto. Why does it happen within the ghetto? Because there's lack of resources within our community. Give me a moment. Okay, so I'm making sure everything's good. Peace, Melvin. How you doing? If you can hear me. Yeah, so that's lack of resources within our community. So by there being lack of resources and a lack of jobs, that's one of the things that will cause somebody to turn into the lifestyle. The only thing that's available is selling drugs and prostitution as an outlet to get out of financial struggle or any type of deviant situation, then that's what it's going to be. You know? So, especially if you live in a society where you're not old enough to work, but you have to take care of priorities, you have to take care of family members. You are the breadwinner. Then what are you forced to do? If you can't find a job because of your age, and or let's say you do find a job, let's just say you do find a job, right? And let's say that the job only allows you to work 4 or 5 hours and you have to get a work permit. Okay. And you only make $9 an hour. $9 an hour. Or $8 an hour, right? But you ain't seen enough money on your paycheck. So what else you gonna do when you know you gotta take care of family? And we're talking about teenagers in this sense. If you can't work too many hours, right? What are you gonna end up doing to make the rest of your income to make sure that your family is okay? More than likely, you're gonna get involved in criminal activities. That's what you're gonna do. Yep. And so let me also read what this person wrote as well. This brother, the brother that I'm trying to get on here, which is brother Carlos. As a matter of fact, brother Melvin, if you can see if you can reach out to Carlos and let him know that I am on live and I'm trying to get him on here so we can have this discussion. So again, I'm reading from the Facebook post, and also with this post, it also speak on social disorganization theory. And he wrote, in sociology, the social disorganization theory is a theory developed by the Chicago School related to ecological theories. The theory directly linked crimes rates to neighborhood ecological characteristics, a core principle of social disorganization theory that states location matters. In other words, a person's residential location is a substantial factor shaping the likelihood that that person will become involved in illegal activities. The theory suggests that among detriments of a person's later illegal activity, residential location is as significant as or more significant than the person's individual characteristics, age, gender, or race. For example, the theory suggests that youth from disadvantaged neighborhoods participate in a subculture which approves of delinquency, and that these youths thus acquire criminality in this social and cultural setting. Again, let's look at the environmental influences. You got the environment that nurture you. So whatever you're not learning at home, you're gonna learn from your environment. You may learn from somebody who's a big time drug dealer in your neighborhood. Or you might learn from the gang bangers themselves. And let me tell y'all something about gangs real quick. Let's talk about the gangs. Why do they exist? And I spoke on it before, but I'm going to speak more in general about it. Gang organizations, right, or what we call gangs, they came out of systemic oppression. They come out of social oppression, cultural oppression. Gangs were formed due to economic deprivation and cultural deprivation. So, with that being said, these when you have these things taking place, that's what's going to constitute a gang, because gang is nothing more than a fellowship, then bring about brotherhood and sisterhood. Yes, they commit criminal activities. Yes, they do other deviant things. But for many, they join gangs because they're looking for survival. They're looking for a rite of passage, a foundation to manhood, a foundation to womanhood. They're looking for a home. They're looking for a family. And you got many of them that come from a broken family, a broken background. Some come out of foster care. Some come from being homeless on the streets. Some come from a broken household where both parents are not there, or if they are there, they're not fulfilled their responsibilities. And then you got some who join gangs because they don't want to be bullied. So they looking for protection, love, stability, and opportunity. All right. And so let's go on down what he also wrote. Social control theory. Social control theory proposed that people's relationship commitments, value norms, and beliefs encourage them not to break the law. Thus, if moral codes are internalized and individuals are tied into and have a stake in their wider community, they will voluntarily limit their propensity to commit deviant acts. The theory seeks to understand the ways in which it is possible to reduce the likelihood of criminality developing in individuals. It does not consider motivational issues, simply starting that human beings. Okay, then, all right. So, he's gonna try to join me. So while he's trying to come in, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna continue to read. And then once I continue on to read, then hopefully he'll be in here by the time I get done. All right. Okay. So let me continue where I left off. Sorry about that, you guys. It does not consider motivational issues, simply starting that human beings may choose to engage in a wide range of activities unless the range is limited by the processes of socialization and social learning. And that's go back to what I just stated before. Getting involved in certain type of activities, right? And also, you got to remember, speaking of codes, yes, streets carry codes. Yes, gangs carry codes. A prostitution carry codes. Now, we may not believe it because we don't see it. We thinking everybody just freely on their own, which, yeah, they are. But then at the same time, there's the principality that's behind all of this. There's always a principle behind the lifestyle. Now, it's up to a person if they choose to follow it or not. But if they choose not to follow it, then it comes with the consequences. See, that's why they call it the game. The reason why it's called it the game, because it's not, you're dealing with a game like the game of chess. You're dealing with psychology. So a lot of this is more so psychology and sociology at the same time. So if you're not mentally strong and you're not able to handle the situation, then you're not going to be able to survive it. So it takes a mentally strong person to be able to deal with those challenges that comes along with living a certain lifestyle. Gangs are good. The problem is the gangs don't grow up. Nobody said the gangs are bad. I didn't say they were bad. But I'm just saying that there is things that goes on behind the gangs because of individuals, or because the way a person perceive things, or how they, what their intentions are. But you have good and bad in everything. You really do. And I understand why gangs they exist in our community. So I'm not saying they're bad at all, but it's just some of the principles and the codes that is being enforced. Some of the ideology, some of the things that they do is what give them a bad name. That's all. Okay. And so also let's get down to where it says subcultural theory. In criminology, all right, here he comes. All right, hold on. Let me see if I can bring him on here. All right, brother Carlos, are you there?
Peace. How you doing, sister? I'm here.
I'm doing fine. Yes, I was reading this last paragraph that you wrote on Facebook.
Okay. Well, just go ahead. I'm kind of coming in kind of late, so I'm just trying to see where
Okay.
you at with it.
Okay, then. So I'm reading the part where it says subcultural theory.
Okay.
In criminology, right? Subcultural theory emerged from the work of the Chicago School on Gangs and developed through the symbolic interactionism school into a set of theories arguing that certain groups of subcultures in society have values and attitudes that are conducive to crime and violence. The primary focus is on juvenile delinquency because theorists believe that if this pattern of offending can be understood and controlled, it will break the transition from teenage offender into habitual criminal. Some of the theories are functionalists, assuming that criminal activity is motivated by economic needs, while others posit a social class rationale for deviance. So, okay, so did you hear all that I read?
Yeah. The was that the subcultural theory?
Yes, the one that you posted up sometime this past week.
Right.
It was called "Why Does Crime Exist?"
Right. And that's that subcultural theory is very relevant because it's talking about how come, like if I'm starving, then and I have no access to higher education or no kind of resources, and I'm left pretty much to survive in an urban environment, a fast-paced environment. What else am I gonna do? What else am I gonna do but trying to find an alternative? Like if I can't get a job, if it's hard for me to get a job, or I'm struggling, a quick way to make money is crime. So the subcultural theory is talking about how criminal activity is motivated by economic needs. We as people, we need to eat. We have to be able to feed and clothe ourselves, and it's not an excuse for crime.
Right.
But it's talking about the why. Why is crime? Because crime just don't come out of nowhere. People,
Right.
people don't wake up and say, "Man, I want to go commit a crime." There's various reasons, psychological, social, and economic reasons for this. And the subcultural theory is talking about how we create how economic needs create a culture of crime. So it becomes cool. It becomes cool to be a criminal because we got to do what we got to get what we need.
Right.
It
Okay,
becomes
so
the culture.
okay, so let me ask you this: what motivates you to put up this post? Because see, this is something. This is like up my alley. This is something I love to talk about.
Right.
So, what motivates you to start talking about why does crime exist? Is it because people always bring up about the black on black crime and versus police brutality crime, or what is it?
That's the number one reason why I went so deep into it, because you have people on both sides. You have Europeans or white people who they always throw that on Facebook. It's like so Chicago has been in the news a lot lately because of the spike in crime. It was down for a minute, for years, and then in 2011 it shot back up, and we still ain't came down from that peak in 2011. So we always in the news. And when I go on Facebook, I might read a post on Facebook, and I go into the comments and I see like hundreds of white people in Chicago saying, yeah, they see the animal, they animals, and ooh. It's like, okay, well, let's talk about why I'm an animal then. You know what I'm talking about? Let's talk about you typing that from your high rise out overlooking Lakeshore Drive, making $150,000 a year, being a trust fund baby, and your parents left you $500,000. And let's talk about me, not being left that kind of money and having to work for a living and having to, do little side hustles. And so let's talk about why this is happening. Not that it's happening. Not only that it's happening, let's talk about why it's happening. So yes, black on black crime, that excuse, which doesn't exist in my opinion. There's, crime is crime. Ain't no black on black crime. It's a proximity issue. Ain't no black, ain't no white on white crime. What is that? No such thing.
Right.
White crime in white neighborhoods is going to be committed by white people, mostly because that's the proximity. Those are the people that live in those neighborhoods. Same thing with in black neighborhood. In a black there's not many white people going to come to a black neighborhood and commit most of the crimes.
Right.
And then there's not many black people going to go to white neighborhoods and commit custom crime because it's just out of our reach.
Carlos?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. And so it was also I wanted to share this article. Let me see. It was an article I wanted to share. Let me see if I can share it.
Okay, I'm back. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay, no problem. And so let me see. Is that showing?
Okay, yeah, it's showing.
Okay, so in this article, it's talking about why is there so much. I'm just using Chicago as an example. Obviously, crime exists everywhere.
Yeah, well, a lot of people want to know, what's up with the crime out there. But go ahead.
Okay, so we can get into that.
Okay.
According to this article, right? So the summary of this article is basically saying that different geographical locations manifest crime differently. So the crime in Chicago is different than the crime in New York, right? There are gangs in New York, there are gangs in Chicago, there are gangs in Atlanta, right?
Oh yeah.
But guess what though? These three geographical locations are different. They set up different. New York is very multicultural. You know what I'm saying? Chicago is kind of segregated, one of the most segregated cities. So let me read a quote from this article. This was when Rahm Emanuel was the mayor, but I'm just showing you the article. So it says, one of the ways Chicago is different is that our social conditions are not anything like those in New York City and Los Angeles. Jens Ludwig, director of the Crime Lab, told a City Club audience earlier this year. He says, we are not just the most segregated city in America, but the level of concentrated poverty we have in our neighborhoods is unlike anything in Los Angeles or New York. You would not find in Inglewood or Garfield Park, which are two Chicago neighborhoods, anywhere in Los Angeles and New York. So the crime in Chicago directly reflects its geographical locations. All right. So and the gangs and another thing are the people who commit these crimes are criminals themselves. The same people are committing these. It's not like average, people that work every day are coming outside committing these crimes. We're not animals. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We're not animals. These are career criminal. These are people who in the streets, in this lifestyle, committing these crimes. And most of it is retaliation, gang warfare. So it's not irregular people. When you read this article, you might think, oh man, it's so much shooting and killing in Chicago. Oh, Chicago is terrible. It's not like that everywhere. It's just the geographical setup of the city that makes it like this, and the gang history. Same thing in New York. It's a different. The city is set up different. There's 5 boroughs in New York, and Harlem, and in Manhattan. That's one island. You know what I'm saying? Chicago is not set up like that.
Right.
So the crime is going to manifest itself differently in New York. crime ain't just as simple and black and white as people make it seem.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Right, right, right. I got you. So, now let's talk real fast. And then I want to share something too. But
Okay.
let's talk real fast. Let's talk about why do you believe in your own words? Why do you believe that gang organization exists within our community?
Oh man, that's a good
Why?
question.
I mean, you don't have to go into a whole lot of detail. Just break it down. And, it as simple as possible. Why do you believe it?
Why do gang organizations exist in our communities?
Yeah.
Well, because human beings are social group creatures. We
Okay.
Anywhere you put humans, they're gonna group up according to either how they look
Mhm.
or or they shared experiences. So groups are gonna form even in middle school and grammar school, elementary school, whatnot. These little groups
Mhm.
form. You can call them gangs, you know.
Mhm.
So these
Mhm.
little groups, it's a part of human nature to form groups. However, the delinquency in gangs comes in when you have impoverished neighborhoods.
Mhm.
Okay, and so these impoverished neighborhoods bring together undesirables or people at the lowest class, the lowest economic class. They come together and they form a group. So that's what a basic gang is. Uh, a group of people who form a common bond in impoverished neighborhoods. As you know, uh, in
Mhm.
America, we are not as economically stable as other races, and so we stay in a lot of the ghettos and a lot of the impoverished neighborhoods in America, and so obviously we're going to form these groups. We're going to bond together. It's hard for me to hang with a rich person if I come from a poor neighborhood.
Right. 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 Most definitely. Most
And so
definitely.
the gangs formed just as neighborhood clubs,
Right.
and then
Right.
the crime came in when we found ways to make money, alternative sources of income,
Mhm.
which is drugs,
Mhm.
prostitution, uh,
Mhm.
gun running, all that came in later.
Mhm.
These are simply just neighborhood clubs. A bunch of kids who I'm from this neighborhood. Okay, I'm from Chatham. So I hang with the Chatham kids. He from Inglewood.
Mhm.
He hung with the Inglewood kids. We went to
Mhm.
different schools. Boom. Now we got our groups. You can call them gangs if you want to, organizations, whatever you want to call them. They get more
Mhm.
complex. They get more
Mhm.
complex the more crime is involved,
Right.
right? And
Right.
like I said, crime is an alternative form of economic currency. Crime is just it's a that's an alternative way to make money. I ain't saying it's right,
Right.
but like I said, if I
Right.
got to put food on the table
Mhm.
and I ain't got no job, I don't know what else I'm gonna do but hustle.
Right. You're right about that. You're right. I understand.
And
You know what? Now, the way I interpreted gangs, right?
mm,
Um, or what is identified as. See, I use that as a layman term because that's you know the term that most people know and identify with
right,
is gang or street organization.
right,
So, the way I understand it is about for many, is dealing with cultural oppression and social oppression, and also economic deprivation, cultural deprivation,
right,
and things of that nature. So when you have anything consists of social oppression and cultural oppression, right? And you live in the community in which you are more than likely to be economically deprived, and there is a lack of cultural identity or a cultural foundation. Then you're going to
right.
create something that you're going to be able to fall back upon, and you're going to be able to identify with. And I believe in my philosophy or in my hypothesis, why many people join the gang is
Mm,
because they are looking for a rite of passage, manhood to womanhood. Uh, Also, I said that they looking for economics, protection, and home. Because most of the people that in these organizations, right, they come from, broken family and broken backgrounds. Now
Right.
you got some that might come from a middle class, and you know what I mean, and or they might be hanging out with these group of kids over here, and they just start clicking up with them. And then someone been bullied, saying picked on, and they feel like, hey, I'm gonna join this because I ain't gonna keep getting taunted. I ain't gonna keep getting bullied all my damn life. I'm gonna have to do something. So I'm gonna go out here and join these dudes over here because they've been protecting me. So I'm gonna look out for them. You know what I'm saying? So and also and that's just my philosophy. That's my hypothesis on it. So
No,
yeah.
that's right and exact. That's right and exact. It is a rite of passage, for those who don't have that, and that's why I propose a lot of that as alternatives. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the gang being a rite of passage, we have to create positive rites of passage for these children. You got to catch them
Right.
early because gang banging, at least in my city, gang banging usually starts at maybe around 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't catch them by then, they already indoctrinated by that lifestyle. And then
Mm-hmm.
it gets hardcore around like 14, 15, And then, like I said, it goes to the moon once you hit like senior year
Mm-hmm.
and you get out of high school, you pretty much full-fledged gang banging. Now it's real deep by then. But it's a rite of passage at 12 years old, where I'm from. And if I had some sort of alternative
Mm-hmm.
rites of passage, like something African centered, it's all about funding. We don't have no funding.
Right.
If it was like millionaires pumping money into these black neighborhoods, setting up organizations like Africans, like say if it was an African centered organization in one of the worst neighborhoods in Chicago, Inglewood, and we had a building, like $1 million building. We had activities for the kids. We had hunting, going on field trips, and just doing all kind of stuff. Right. That's a rite of passage right there. And we had real rituals that took you. You get initiated and everything, like authentic African initiations, or at least copying that,
Mm-hmm.
to promote you to different levels. Like, okay, now you initiated into our African school, and this is what you are. You a young warrior scholar, and you're gonna do A, B, and C. And that's something a child can have pride in, and they can rep that instead of repping, a gang. I can rep this African centered organization. Pushing knowledge, pushing building and things of that nature. So your theory is right and exact. You know what I'm saying? Everything you said was on point. It's just we have to find positive um a positive way to transmit that energy to the city, to the inner cities, you know.
Right. Okay, so I want to show you this article, right? It comes from thoughtco.com.
Yeah, that's a good
So
website. I like that
yeah,
website.
it is a good website. It talk about sociology of deviance and crime. So let me go ahead and share it with you.
Okay.
All right. So, oops. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay. So this article it called Sociology of Deviance and Crime: The Study of Cultural Norms and What Happens When They Are Broken. Now, this article was written on April the 23rd, 2018.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and then it goes on and says sociologists who study deviance and crime examine cultural norms, how they change over time, how they are enforced, and what happens to individuals and society when norms are broken. Deviance and social norms vary amongst societies, communities, and times, and often sociologists are interested in why these differences exist and how these differences impact the individuals and group in those areas. Now, and it goes down to the overview. All right, let's look at the overview. Sociologists define deviance as behavior that is recognized and as violating expected rules and norms. It is simply more than conformity. However, it is behavior that departs significantly from social expectation. In the sociological perspective on deviance, there is a subtlety. subtly that distinguishes it from our common sense understanding of the same behavior. Sociologists stress social context, not just individual behavior. That is, deviance is looked at in terms of group processes, definition, and judgments, and not just as unusual individual acts. Sociologists also recognize that not all behaviors are judged similarly by all groups. What is deviant to one group may not be considered deviant to another. Further, sociologists recognize that established rules and norms are socially created and just morally decided or individually imposed. That is, deviance lies not just in the behavior itself, but in the social response of groups to behavior by others. Now, I'm going to stop right there. Now, what's your thought on that? Carlos?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm sorry about that. I think
Yeah,
that
what's your thought?
I think that's a valid viewpoint because like we said, like you was saying earlier, there's a few different ways to approach it. And I think that's a part of like social control theory where uh the people it's the social and cultural norms. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like I said, if crime is accepted by me and accepted by my group and accepted by my community, it's going to be easy for it to, we make an excuse for it. It's like, okay, well, this how we get down out here. Crime is it's a reality. It's a way of life out here. So it's easier to commit it. It becomes a cultural norm. You see
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? It's not
Mm-hmm.
like foreign. It's not like, like if you're a law abiding citizen and somebody around you start breaking the law, you're gonna be like, oh man, I don't do this. But if you with people who think the same way as you and you used to committing crime and it's a cultural norm, then it's
Mm-hmm.
normal. It becomes a part of your social it becomes a part of your culture.
Mm-hmm.
So that article is definitely addressing an important I'm gonna have to say that article too. What's the name of the
Okay.
article again?
It's called thoughtco.com and it's called Sociology
Mm-hmm.
of Deviance and Crime.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and then go also into what you was putting on your post last week about the four theoretical approaches, right? Which is a structural strain theory, a
Uh-huh.
structural fundamentalist standpoint, conflict theory, and also labeling theory.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Also, I want to get back to your post real quick,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you put something that really stood out to me, um, which is dealing with the conflict theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in the conflict theory, right here where you put down the conflict theories are perspective in sociology and social psychology that emphasize a materialist interpretation of history, dialectical methods of analysis, a critical stance towards existing social arrangements and political program of revolution or at least reform. Conflict theories draw attention to power differential such as class conflict and generally contrast historically dominant ideologies. It is therefore a macro level analysis of society. Now, you mentioned right here in this post, C. Wright Mills has been called the founder of modern conflict theory, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's in Mill's view, social structures are created through conflict between people with differing interests and resources. Individuals and resources in turn are influenced by these structures and by unequal distribution of power and resources in society. Now let's stop right there. Let's talk about the unequal distribution of power and
Huh.
resources in society.
Yeah, that's a direct derivative of capitalism. So it's crazy, right? Because capitalism actually creates crime in a way. You know what I'm saying? So if I live in a small village
Mm-hmm.
and it's just a little basic village and we farm and we do our little hunting and it's going to be relatively low crime. Okay. it's a simple life. It's a low crime. Now, contrast that with a big city. Say for instance, Los Angeles. When you go to what's that? I don't know the name of that street, but it's a place in like downtown Beverly Hills where
Was
it's
it
not, what's the name of that street out there in Beverly Hills, Los Angeles?
Melrose?
Melrose.
Uh-huh.
And so you got all these Gucci, Prada,
Mm-hmm.
you got
Mm-hmm.
Balenciaga, you got all of these high class stores. We want that, okay? We this American capitalism promotes a culture of um uh man, I don't know the word for it, but you want
uh
consumerism.
yeah.
I want the Gucci bag. You know what I'm saying? The girl want the Chanel purse. I want the Prada shoes. This stuff costs thousands of dollars. How I'm finna get
Right.
it? And it's cool. It ain't cool to wear my little $20 shoes that's falling apart. You feel me? I'm not cool. This capitalism. I got to have a name brand. I got to have a name brand. Um uh Capitalist shoes.
Mm-hmm.
$1,000 shoes. My little $100 Jordans ain't enough no more. So now I gotta go crack some cards, commit some to just to keep up with this American ideal of capitalist materialism. I got to keep up with this, or else I'm a lame. I'm not cool.
Right. And see, you wrote that in the strain theory where I read under the strain theory, you wrote the theory states that society put pressure on individuals to achieve socially accepted goals such as the American dream, though they
Exactly.
lack the means. This leads to strain, which may lead individuals to commit crimes like selling drugs or becoming involved in prostitution as a means to gain financial security.
Exactly. And it's funny because, like you said, that's the strain theory, what I'm talking about now. But that the strain theory is directly caused by the modern conflict theory.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's this power elite military industrial complex that creates
Mm-hmm.
these class systems that makes me poor.
Mm-hmm.
I'm poor because I don't have any generational wealth, and because of different other historical reasons that held me back from being able to even afford a Harvard education or something like that. That comes from modern conflict theory, and that's, like you said, the power elite, the military industrial complex, the corporate elite, with these class systems. That
Mm-hmm.
causes conflict. That causes conflict, and then that causes classes. So we come so the poor class is going against the middle class. The middle class going against the upper class. It's just crazy. Conflict theory. All these classes is just stunting on each other, capping on each other. It's crazy. This is all the result of capitalism. The chase for the almighty dollar.
Right. Exactly. And the American dream, and I have to agree with this, the American dream is nothing more than the illusion of the inclusion.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because we've been sold into this false ideology that you gotta achieve the American dream in order to be successful. And for me, um, it's just pretty sad when I sit back and I just watch how individual you know go after what they wants are. You know what I'm saying? Instead of focus on what they need in their household. So they're too busy trying to look good and trying to impress somebody. So see, in sociology, that is called conspicuous consumption. So with conspicuous consumption, basically you put on the front like you have something and you got something valuable, but you really don't have anything. And for us as a people, um, we have been dealing with not only the social oppression, but emotional oppression. So by us dealing with emotional oppression, we want to be able to feel like we are part of something. We want to feel like we belong to society. We don't want to continue to be the outcast or that black sheep, you know. So, and that's when all this that's when all this all this whole keeping up with the Jones and trying to live above our means come into play because of our low self-esteem. So we feel like we gotta prove something. So like females, we gotta sit up here and try to wear our hair a certain way, and try to be a certain size, so we can try to get as much attention from men, and just to feel confident about ourselves and just to seek validation. We want to try to prove that we quote unquote the boss bitch, which at the end of the day, you don't really know what a boss bitch is because
Yeah.
what is a what does it really mean to be a boss bitch? Because if you think a boss bitch mean that you gotta look good all the damn time just to impress some dude, then you got it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Some people can't even uh pay off their car note. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? But you think that you a boss. Like how? But that's the type of mentality we develop. And then for the fellas, they gotta drive a certain car, they gotta show off all their money and income. Like, I kind of sit back and laugh at these rappers when I sit there and see them, flashing their money and stuff like that. And I mean, because it's like, okay, you doing good, but I can guarantee you that you're not as wealthy as you think.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're not as wealthy as you think. I mean, yeah, you got some money, but do you know about the dollar value? Do you know about the fact that the U.S. dollar may lose its currency value?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know anything about that, or I mean, do you not keep up with that? I guess it's just a whole thing about egos. It's just a whole thing about feeling good. You know what I'm saying? And feeling confident. But at the end of the day, money doesn't always make a person satisfied either, because you can still be unhappy and still be a millionaire or a billionaire.
I
You know
agree.
what I'm saying? You can still be lacking something in your life. And
That's
then
why. That's why you say it's an illusion.
right.
You putting all the, what kind of hole is you trying to fill by showing me your $1,000 shoes, showing me you a boss, quote unquote boss bitch, your hair, I don't know how much your hair costs, hundreds of dollars, your makeup costs
Right.
much,
Right. It costs more than your rent.
Then how costs more than the rent, and then it's like, then how's you getting it? Man, it's just called, and then it's just dog chasing their tail. You keeping up with the Joneses, like you just said. Now you got
Right.
to live up to this. Now you got to live up to this persona you created. So now you really got to get to that bag. Now you now you breaking the law. Like I said, you cracking cars, doing fraud. You doing everything trying to keep up with the bag. It's a difference between that and surviving though. Like I said, there's some people that hustle for survival purposes. You know what I mean? And sometimes a lot of them turn that into legal businesses, and that I commend that. I would actually tell people that who are doing anything type of hustling to actually turn that into a legitimate business eventually when they get on their feet, because
That's right.
that's what a lot of these Europeans did. A lot that's a fact. A lot of people don't want to talk about that when they point to that black on black crime, and you look into how the mafia got legitimized, how the mafia turned their dirty money, they clinked their money.
Yep.
And then a lot of these businesses are owned by former, like even Trump, our president. His granddaddy, they from Germany, like not him or his father, but his grandparents and his great grandparents. They Europeans, and he was over there running brothels and whorehouses and pimping and pandering.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
pimping.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
that's illegal in America.
Right.
So those are so-called criminal acts. And then he came, and then his descendants came to America, and then they clinked that money into real estate and different other business endeavors. But they don't talk about that. They want to point to quote unquote niggas selling drugs or niggas doing crimes. Oh, okay. Ain't no angels over here.
Right. Right. Talk about that. And also, have you ever seen this documentary on Netflix? It's called The Business of Drugs.
Man, I've seen it, but I don't know if I've seen any episode. What was it getting into? I think I might have seen it, but I'm not sure.
Okay, so it's a great documentary. It basically just get into the episode of how drug became a business.
Okay.
Um, yes, and how they being able to profit and stuff. Like, so the lady, there's a woman on there. She interviews various people from different countries. She went to Nairobi, Kenya. She went to Argentina. I think she went to Mexico, and she went to some country out. I think it's in India. I think it's somewhere. It's somewhere in West Asia. So she deal with various topic about crack cocaine, heroin, um, crystal meth,
Mhm.
um, what's the other drug out there? Was it Molly? You
Hmm.
know, she talk about all of that. And so it's a pretty deep documentary. It goes into those details. And like it was just very surprising to me about Nairobi, Kenya, and
Right.
how the heroin epidemic is so, you know, it's on the rise out there. Like they have a serious heroin issue in Nairobi. And then like they have a community where they have the drug addicts where they can go and do their drugs, like if they want to shoot up heroin and stuff
Uh-huh.
like that. Then they also have a program for those who are recovering. And one lady said something that was very valuable. She said, at the end of the day, she said, even though I'm a recovering drug addict, but I'm still an addict
Right.
because this is a disease that cannot be cured.
Hmm. Yeah, that's I'm gonna have, you know what, I've seen a few episodes of that. I haven't seen it all though. I didn't watch it all. But yeah, I'm gonna have to go on here since you brought that up. Make sure that I because I like documentaries like that and shows like that that show the real side of life and stuff, and you know the real damage that drugs do, hard drugs. But
Mm-hmm.
like I said, the issue of crime, crime has been around for a long time. So you know, just let's just not make this a black issue. You know, yeah,
Right.
the violence, a lot of the violence in our communities right now is senseless. I'm not making an excuse for it. It is senseless. However, let's talk about the roots of why this crime is like that, and let's talk about the how to correct this, the solution. Let's talk about the roots and the solutions. You know, instead of focusing on it's just the gloom and doom, let's talk about solutions and let's talk about why it is the way it is. Why our communities are uh, impoverished. Why these gangs don't have no more leaders, so they running wild. The kids running wild in these gangs. No leadership, no structure. Let's talk about all of that. Also, have you ever seen let me see. Have you ever seen what's the name of it? Have you ever seen Casino?
No, I haven't.
What? Quit playing with man. What's my man's name? They the main dudes that be in the mafia movies. I can't even. My mind is. I'm kind of tired. Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci. It's called Casino. You ain't ever
I
seen?
gotta go. I gotta go back and look at that movie. Is that movie old?
Yeah, it's an old. It's probably from the maybe the early '90s, mid '90s or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm finna share an article with you.
Okay, go
The
ahead.
movie, you need to watch the movie just because it's a good movie.
Okay.
It's a award-winning classic movie. But however, while we talking about crime and while we talking about so-called black on black crime and the fact that whites kind of invented the modern crime that we see in America today, I'm gonna go ahead and share this article that that kind of talks about what the movie Casino uh was showing. So it's right here. Can you see that?
Okay. Yeah, I see it. I see it.
It's called How the Mafia Used Casinos to Launder Money.
Wow.
You know. See, they smart
Mm-hmm.
with their stuff. They do their crime and then they clean it. They clean the money, you know.
Yep.
In real life, the method of money laundering is used by a host of criminal enterprises. As mentioned earlier, in the 1950s, organized crime gangs in America would purchase casinos in Las Vegas to do just this, launder money. Now you're looking at the 1950s, okay?
Mm-hmm.
These wasn't no black people doing this.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't went legit. They did all they dirt, and then they start going legit in the 1950s. $70 million. Okay, you see that in that red when it's talking about is this really happening in Canada?
Mm-hmm.
$70 million of ill-gotten gain. You know, matter of fact, that's recent.
Wow.
That's recent right there.
Mm.
So yeah,
Mm.
this whole article, I'm just showing the article because this the title right here. This National Crime Syndicate is the website, and it's called "How the Mafia Used Casinos to Launder Money."
Wow. You know what? But yeah, the casinos have always been that outlet. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like you know what I'm saying? It's always been a cover up for
Mm.
illegal activity behind the scene.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you know what? And also, if you remember back in the day, like our elders, they used to do street lottery and used to run the numbers and all that stuff.
Running numbers, yeah.
Yeah.
It was a big thing in Harlem and a
Mm-hmm.
big thing in Chicago and Bronzeville. Running
Mm-hmm.
numbers, those were two number running racket, two of the biggest number running rackets in America was in New York and Chicago. And those produced black gangsters, quote unquote black gangsters, the black mob, you know. And
Right.
this is like I said, we was just we needed a way to get money.
Right. And like the sister, she was the queen of it. What's her name? Stephanie St. Clair.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, that's the
Yes.
history. I got a book about that, man. I wish I would have dug it out.
Okay.
It's a big old book. I don't even remember the Policy Kings, I think is the name of it. Let me see if
Wow.
let me see if I can find it. It's called Policy. Kings. Yep, yep. Let me see. Policy Kings was that name of it? Yep. I don't know where the book at. Let's see. Is that the name of it? I'm trying to see. All right, here we go. I don't know if you can see that. Let me see. Can you see that?
Okay. Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, that's the name of the book, and
Okay.
called Policy Kings. It's a real good book, and it goes into at least the Chicago history, the true story of
Mm-hmm.
Chicago's Policy Kings and number racketeers, and
Mm-hmm.
they go in that book. They go in that book.
Mm.
Yep.
Wow. So does it talk about it talks about just different mafias from different
Yeah.
time periods?
Well, no, it's talking about specifically that time period. I think in maybe the 20s and the 30s. It's talking
Mm-hmm.
about the 20s, the 30s, and the 40s, and it's talking about how we had to create our own lane because, like I said, that was ran by like the Italian mafia and the Polish mafia and stuff like that. Europeans, they was doing this and they was getting money, and we was in these, like I said, we was in these impoverished neighborhoods. Like, man, we need some money too, so we had to, they wouldn't let us in
Mm-hmm.
on that, so we had to build up our own institutions, racketeering and numbers institutions. And then we had to compete with them. We fought with them. Sometimes we linked with them and got
Mm-hmm.
money and so on and so forth. So, crime, I don't know what people think. Crime ain't no black thing. Crime is an American thing. It's a reaction most of the time.
Mm.
It's a
Yeah.
reaction to poverty, a reaction to
Right.
materialism.
Right. Exactly.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah. I got another article I want to share real quick.
Mm-hmm.
All right. This article comes from Black Scholar, Journal of Black Studies and Research.
Okay.
It's called White Power, Black Crime, and Racial Politics by Robert Staples. All right, so I'm going to go all the way down, skip down real fast. And I'm going to read where it says the racial underpinnings of American politics also caused the majority of the public to favor law enforcement as a solution to crime over social support programs that will alleviate the stresses that cause much of it. The imprisonment of people has become a very lucrative enterprise. Many states have outsourced their prisoners to private prisons, which are profit-making businesses listed on the stock exchange with more than $1 billion annual revenue. And it says many economically distressed counties compete to have prisons built in their area to supply jobs and aid local businesses. They encourage politicians to stiffen sentences and even create new statutes to increase the prison population. The fact that so many policy differences between the U.S. and the rest of the Western world are linked to its racial tensions is rarely discussed in a nation that affects a colorblind posture to abolish or weaken positive race-conscious practice by local, state, or federal governments. All right. And so then it goes down here, say after an accumulation of such policies, crime and race are what's this word? Inextricably linked in the U.S. fueled by white fears of violence and street crime, even though race itself does not need to be explicitly mentioned in public discourse, as politicians and the media continue to identify crimes by blacks and Latino as disproportionately threatened to whites, profiting seems less egregious or even justified to them because it combats this threat. Now, okay, so with that being said, and what I just read right there, let's get into the concept about prisons, population, mass incarceration, and Joe Biden and all of that. So now with that article, what's your intake on that article, that little session?
Oh, that's right and exact. They use that fear. They use that fake fear to promote police how the police perceive us as a threat. We already looked at as a threat because of this fear that was created. You know? Hate or whatever it is. So that racial profiling is creating the environment for bad things to happen between black people and police. And how the police view these neighborhoods that they police. When white cops police black neighborhoods, and they don't have no connection to the neighborhood. And then, like you said, the prison, the school to prison pipeline, and how all these politicians invest in how American business is invested. Basically, prison is a business as well. So it is actually a good thing that all these people getting locked up to them, right? If I'm invested in a prison, then I'm gonna need to fill those cells,
right?
And not only that, I can get free labor. Well, it's not. They might pay them a few cents, a few crumbs, but I can get almost slavery. So I can get them to build me things and work for nearly free, for nearly nothing. So that's promoting this prison that go back to the prison industrial the military and the prison industrial complex. It's businesses built around prisons. You got to build it. You got to pay people to build them. These are get construction contracts. You know how much money in construction. Somebody got to build those prisons. That's money right there. Then you got to house them, and then now the federal government, has to allot certain amount of money to feed these prisoners and so on and so forth. So man, it's big business. Prison is big business.
Yeah, it is absolutely. Um, you know what? That's funny that you mentioned that because I remember I went to one rally. Um, I went to a rally downtown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it was at the Capitol, and it was the teachers rally. It was teachers, administrators, and faculty staff. They were all downtown. They were all talking about how the state is not funding enough money towards the public schools, and
Mm,
how they had to cut back on some of the field trip programs and the music programs because of the money not being funded enough. So they were talking about that more of the money was going towards building more prisons
wow,
and building less schools. So a lot of schools were closing down, but more prisons were increasing or being built.
that's crazy.
And if you ever watch this documentary by this brother named Raheem Shabazz, it's called From Elementary to Penitentiary.
Wow, it's on
Yeah, that's
YouTube.
I don't think he has it on YouTube, but I have the DVD,
Oh,
and yeah, it's called From Elementary to Penitentiary, and he goes into how the state have defunded the public schools, but put more money into like increasing or building more prisons, especially private prisons.
mm.
So yeah, so speaking of that, what is your thought on Joe Biden and Bill Clinton when they signed the bill for mass incarceration?
Whew, oh man. Everybody that know me know how I feel about Democrats. I don't give Democrats no room to move.
Mm-hmm,
You know,
mm-hmm.
I'm not a Republican either.
Right, right, right,
So just to make that clear, but I be
right.
on,
Me either.
I be I be on their head on them Democrats because we as black folks, we get them a pass all the time because we historically vote Democrat. And so
Mm-hmm,
we kind of get stuck in the habit of voting these Democrats, and we don't see some of the unhealthy things they do for our communities.
mm-hmm,
And that speaks specifically to Joe Biden drafting the crime bill and getting Bill Clinton to sign off on that. And Bill
mm-hmm.
Clinton even apologized later about that. After the fact, it was too late. I just think it could have been a more positive way to address. I don't know what their motivations was. I don't know if they had purposely, wanted to lock all those people up. But the most people out of any other president, that was the most people that got locked up under Bill Clinton, a Democratic president, a
Right.
so-called liberal who black people love. Called Bill Clinton the first black president. Even the first black president locked all y'all ass up. How about that one?
Right, exactly. Locked you guys up, but
Up.
you thought that he was on your side. See, this is you gotta understand something. This is one of the reasons why I can respect Trump because at least Trump lets you know how he feels
Exactly.
straight to your face. Even though I don't like him, I'm not a big fan of Trump's, but
Right.
he just be straightforward about things. You know what I'm saying? He's not gonna sugarcoat stuff. With these Democrats, for the most part, they have sugarcoated a lot of things, right? But they have done slick stuff behind our backs
Exactly.
or in front of our faces, and we don't even pay attention to.
Exactly.
And one thing I could say also that I could commend Trump for is the prison reform bill. He was able to let out prisoners, give them early release and things like that. I give him credit for that because yeah, when Obama was in office, no disrespect, what did he do? Did he bring about a reform bill to get a lot of prisoners out?
Nah. Yeah. I ain't gonna even get into Obama, but I guess
Yeah.
he tried to do some stuff. He tried, but he definitely ain't do nothing with prison reform. That definitely ain't. Uh, I'm glad you brought up Joe Biden and Clinton because that's something important that the people need to, and everybody who watching this, even if they watch it later, go and research, like the sister said, Bill Clinton signing Joe Biden's crime bill.
Mm-hmm.
Look it up. Look up what was it about and what did it do. you know, and how many prisoners it created. I got another article too I wanted to get in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get off here in a minute, but
Okay.
I definitely appreciate. I'm sorry I didn't get on here earlier when you first started, because that was
It's
that was
all
that was
good.
my fault. I
Yeah,
wasn't.
I was. Yeah, I was gonna read something else from this article, but I understand
No,
you. Go
go ahead,
ahead.
go ahead with that. Go ahead with that. Finish on that.
Okay, then. It says, given the millions of ordinary Americans who violate some law, it is not practical to jail all offenders. What is unfair is the criminal justice system does not imprison the people who represent the greatest threat to society. It jails primarily the poor and the powerless. Contrary to conventional wisdom, the seriousness of a crime is not the most crucial element in predicting who goes to prison and who does not. White collar crimes white collar criminals are far less likely to go to jail than blue collar ones. The difference is more than the category of crime. It is the race and class of the criminal. For example, all of the men convicted or indicted in the Iran Contra scandal had their conviction or indictments overturned or were pardoned by President George Bush, who also escaped punishment for his roles in the criminal affair. About 2/3 of the people in the state prisons and municipal jails are Black and Latino, who tends to be poor and less educated than the typical white collar criminal.
Wow, that's terrible. So you telling me that it's not about what you did or how severe the crime is. It's about your class and or your color. That's crazy. That's insane. You know what? Now that you bring that up, and I'm glad you brought that article up. That also speaks to how back in the crack era, back in the 80s and the early 90s, how if I was selling crack, which is cocaine, by the way, crack is
Solid cocaine.
right, solid cocaine. It ain't nothing but cooked up cocaine. That's all it is. They found out a formula to make a chemical reaction to make the cocaine a rock. So, but
That's it.
but anyway, you had these white guys on Wall Street sniffing cocaine and selling coke. And guess what happened when you get caught with some coke? A nice little amount, an ounce or whatever, you get a slap on the wrist. But let me get caught with 3 rocks in 1986. I'm under the deal. Don't let me have three. Don't let me have be on my second strike. I'm life. You hear me? So a lot of our people got locked up for a few rocks of a few grams of cocaine when these white Wall Street types would have hundreds of grams of cocaine or ounces or 28 grams, and they would get slaps on the wrist because that's a so-called higher class drug, upper class drug, or white drug, so to speak. So yeah, that goes to show you that like you were saying, it's not about the crime you was committing. It's about, are you poor? What's your class? What color is you? That's what determine if you going to jail or not, or how long you're gonna be in jail.
Yeah, because let's look at, for example, okay, let's bring up T.I. situation real fast. T.I. was caught with all those weapons that he had, right?
Yeah.
Back in 2007. So, and the reason why he got all the weapons like that because his best friend was killed while he was doing a concert in Cincinnati. So, yeah, who happened to be his bodyguard as well. So, T.I. went and got some illegal guns, guns that civilians are not allowed to use.
Right.
But only used by the government. So, this man, instead of, because normally you would serve 20 years. Now, average Joe would have to serve 20 years. You know what I'm saying? But because T.I. is famous and he's a millionaire, right? He didn't have to serve 20 years. He served in between time. He was doing community services and he was doing like a year here and a year there, or 10 months here and 9 months there, etc.
Yep, money talks. Your class. That's another thing about America. Well, most societies have class systems, but it's in your face here. So yeah, T.I. is in a very high class, and like you said, that got him out of that trouble. That got him out of that jam. Unfortunately, like you said, if I would have got caught with all that, it'd have been a wrap.
It sure would have been a wrap. It sure would have. So also, I want to ask one last question. Do you think with all this police brutality that is going on, that's taking place, do you think that's the main influence or main cause of why crime continue to increase within our community because of the marginalization and you know the
Yeah,
the antagonism and things of that nature?
I don't think it's the main reason, but I do think that it's a part of the puzzle. It's a very important piece of the puzzle, and our community has a very complex relationship with the police, as you know. So
Yeah.
there's a level of distrust. Obviously, we don't trust the police. Obviously, it's some sort of line dividing us because police. It's like they do more than they supposed to do. They don't do what they supposed to do. They supposed to keep the peace. They're supposed to protect and serve. But it seems like that they just, like I said, come to our neighborhoods and just harass people. Like, and so that creates a distrust and a hate on both sides. You come in my community hating me, right? I'm gonna hate you. I'm not, we ain't finna work, under the No Snitching Act. Most people ain't working with the police anyway. Not to mention, I kind of tie that to some. I don't really. I kind of separate that. I think if you a part of crime, then you shouldn't snitch. If you're a part of crime, then it shouldn't be no snitching because you a criminal. Now, if you a civilian, like if somebody a square or a civilian, then they shouldn't be held to that. That's a
A
different.
square? A
Yeah.
square? Really? A square?
Well, I mean,
I'm just messing with you.
well, let's just say a blue
I'm just messing
collar,
with you.
a blue collar working person who ain't got no ties to the street. If you ain't got no ties to the street, you just do. You got your little neighborhood watch. Them they shoot. You call the police. Hey, they shooting outside. That's not snitching.
Right.
You protecting your community. Hey, they shooting outside. I'm not in no gang. That's not snitching. Now if I'm the one shooting, and then I go home and call the police on the guy that was shooting at me, that's snitching. I was shooting at him too. I'm a criminal. Like I'm part of the war too. But the police need they need to redo all that. Reform. Police reform need to be the next president. His main thing need to be police reform. Because we tore this country up not too long ago, obviously, as you've seen after George Floyd got murdered. We tore this country up. So they know it's important. This is an important issue. And so they need to redo. I'm defunded. I don't know about defunding it, but the funds need to be allocated into a different strategies for these police. Fire most of them and bring in ones that actually want change. And another thing I usually say, a lot of the police that get hired are like ex-military and they got PTSD and they crazy, want to kill somebody anyway. Y'all hiring the wrong people. Y'all just hire anybody to be the police. He could be a nut. He trigger happy.
Okay.
Okay,
and that's why it's a requirement to have mental evaluation.
Yeah.
I think that it should be a requirement because especially when you get into that type of job field where you have to be on the streets.
Yeah.
Right. And you have to deal with so much activity. You got to be able to go through the mental evaluation and make sure that you don't have any type of post-traumatic stress disorder going on. Mm-hmm. You don't have a whole bunch of bipolar. You're not schizophrenia or anything like that.
Exactly. They need, like you said, they need some type of mental better because they get evaluated, but it's not specific enough. They need to be evaluated for traits of racism, aggressiveness. All these need to be taken into account. Not just is he crazy? If he crazy, don't get him no badge. But also, is he racist? Is he aggressive? Over aggressive? We need to. It's a test that they have called the dark triad. It's called the dark triad test, and it talks about people, these different aggressive. Are you aggressive? Are you manipulative and things like that? They need to get them that test as well.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Exactly. Absolutely. I agree.
So yeah,
I agree.
the police play a part in this violence as well, in this crime. They play a part. Yes, they do.
Yeah. Now that was something that you wanted to show. Is there anything that you wanted to show? You
Oh
wanted to
yeah,
show an article.
yes indeed. I'm gonna leave off on this note as far as one of the also things to add to why the
Okay.
crime is in neighborhoods in general, but black neighborhoods specifically. I
Uh
think
huh.
a guy wrote this for his PhD dissertation.
Uh,
He's actually a doctor now. Um, so he got his doctor of philosophy. Let me share
okay.
the article, but it's talking
Okay.
about you know about redlining.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, gentrification, redlining. Yeah.
So this article is talking about how redlining helped to contribute to crime. I'm not gonna read all of it. I'm just gonna put it out there for us to, we can go back to later and for everybody. But I'm gonna read a little part of it, the introduction. Let me share my screen, and
Okay.
I think that redlining definitely it definitely created the
Mm-hmm.
way Chicago is segregated the way it is a direct result of redlining. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can see your screen.
So this is his PhD dissertation. It's called "The Long Run Effects of Transformational Federal Policies: Redlining, the Affordable Care Act, and Head Start." And
Mm-hmm.
hold on one second. He goes into so I'm just gonna read a few parts of his abstract. He says, "My dissertation research spans several subfields of applied microeconomics, including public health and urban economics. In
Mm-hmm.
particular, my dissertation is concerned with identifying the long run effects of large transformational federal policies. My research shows how increases in access to credit markets, early childhood education, and medical care can influence the course of a person's life."
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so access to credit, your education, and your medical care can influence a person's whole life. This is why rich neighborhoods, people better off, obviously, and this is why in poor neighborhoods is so violent and so on and so forth. He says, "I show how racially motivated restrictions to credit markets implemented in the 1930s, which are colloquially called redlining, influence the
Mm-hmm.
present day distribution of crime." He said he used a spatial RD to show that redlining influenced the present day distribution of crime across neighborhoods in Los Angeles, California. So that's all I wanted to show, was that he was talking about uh how redlining influenced the present day distribution of crime across neighborhoods. Redlining. These banks, you know, it was hard working black people trying to come up in the world and get their credit together and getting good credit and trying to buy homes and create wealth, and they was blocking that and they were hating on that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
think that's an important part of the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry about that, but
Oh, it's all good.
yeah. So I think that that's an important part of the puzzle.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? And that is a very important part. Because red line does really affect us because a lot of us, Tristan put on here, he said, I am a product of red line being from LA.
Wow. See what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Yeah,
not just, we didn't just wake up and crime was everywhere. This stuff
right,
happened. This is a cause and effect. All right.
right.
Cause and
Mm-hmm.
effect. Crime is an effect. Crime is an effect. It's circular. It's cyclical. It's a effect and a cause.
Mm-hmm.
Something caused the crime. The crime happened. Now the crime causing other stuff, and it's just a
Mm-hmm.
vicious cycle.
That's right. Right. And so, in our conclusion, the main reason why crime exists is because of what, Carlos?
Ooh, the main reason why crime exists. Wow, the main reason. Ooh, man, I would say economical disparities, poverty.
I have to agree. I have to agree.
It's more than that, but just to narrow it down to the one of the most main important reasons, I would say economic, impoverishment. Yeah.
I have to honestly agree with you. And also, Trishan put down they would turn down blacks when we tried to move to the good neighborhood. Oh, that's always been the case.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Or they'll look for a reason to move out.
Yep.
Because when they start seeing more and more of us moving to what is called good neighborhood,
Yeah.
right, or the suburbs, they'll move out and move back into the city. And so now that suburb turns into the ghetto, the inner city,
Yep.
because a lot when the upper class people, right, mostly white people, when they move out of the communities, right, then the money is moving out as well.
Ooh, tell them, sister, tell them. And that there you go. That when that's one of them that creates the problem. The fun when they leave, the money leave. When the money leave, the funding leave. When the funding leave, the schools are gone. When the schools are broke down, now you got dummies running around, and dumb and unintelligent people ain't gonna make good decisions, and then we're gonna get involved in crime. Now we ain't no stores. Now we hungry. Ain't no jobs. Now we robbing. Now I'm stealing. Now it's crime everywhere. We didn't. I didn't create that. That was an effect of a cause.
Yeah, that was a book that I showed you was about the ghetto.
Yeah, I got that on. I got that on my wish list now.
Oh yeah, you need to read that book because it talks about the origin and history of the ghetto. But we'll go into that topic another day, maybe one day.
Yeah.
We ain't gonna take up too much time. But yeah, it goes into the history about what the ghetto were and all of that. So and how it came into existence and stuff like that, and the Jews and blacks and Latinos and stuff. But we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
And he also put they sanctioned suburban neighborhoods, and those neighborhoods became hoods in a vicious cycle.
That's I couldn't have put it more better. I couldn't have put it better. That's accurate. That's very accurate.
Yep. Well, okay then, Carlos. I thank you for being on here. I appreciate us having this dialogue. This is a healthy conversation.
No problem, my sister. I appreciate your platform, and I'll be back.
Okay then. All right, and thank you, Tristan, for coming in. And the rest of you guys that's watching, thank you guys so much. And so maybe one day we should talk about we did spoke about the relationship between black men and women before in the past, but one day we should bring up the topic about domestic violence and the increase of violence between men and women in our community.
I'm with you on that one. I'm passionate about that, so let me know.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Yeah, so we're gonna come up with something. Okay. But anyways, you have a wonderful night. Salam. Take it easy. Be safe. Be careful out there.
All right, you too, sister. Peace.
All right, peace. All right, thank you. All right, and then I want to thank you guys for watching, for tuning in. If you enjoy what you're watching and you want to go ahead and support what I'm doing, you can go ahead and check out my Cash App, $ Tip World, if you want to support. Other than that, I thank you guys for tuning in. I thank you guys for watching. I hope that you guys enjoyed that because that's very educational. That's the way that information got to be brought from an educational standpoint, and that's what I'm just trying to do. We all here to learn, we all here to grow, and we're all here to elevate, and that's the goal. So until next time, you guys, may peace and power elevation be to all of you, and I will catch you guys later on. And with that being said, you guys be safe out there wherever you are. And if you want to, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so, which is Tiffany French. Also, make sure you share this video as well on Facebook. So thank you guys for watching. All right, take it easy. Peace. And all right.